So before we dive into stand up, I know there were a couple people who did not get a chance to go for their capstone yesterday. Does anyone want to kick it off who didn't go yesterday?
I could go, but ended up having some issues with my code. So my pictures aren't showing again. Ah, crap. But let me go ahead. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, you're good.
All right. So earlier the photos were showing. I'm not sure what's going on. I gotta work on that with maybe Max. But this site that I'm trying to create, or this app, it's an app where you just upload pictures that you created. I haven't gotten much to the styling because I was told once that something doesn't work, you shouldn't move on. You should try and figure it out, then you move on. So because of that, I'm at a standstill. But yeah, there's a lot that I need to do on this.
All right, what are your next steps?
My next step is figuring out why the photos stop showing, and then work on getting the login working. Where, let me show you. So I got the images part, I got local, got the main desktop that I'm trying to create with the login part in there. 1 second. Get to the login. Undo. Oh, I think I took that out because you told me we are gonna do the login thing today. So because of that, I ended up taking back the login page out for the time being. But I'm just working on pages and trying to figure out why my photo's not working.
Cool. Yep, don't forget site of your backend in terms of getting the database set up and thinking through how you're going to get photos storing in the database and what that table model looks like. With that said, any roadblocks or any concepts that you need to go over other than login?
Definitely gonna have some more issues after I figure out the photos, because I do need to figure out the database side of it and how I'm gonna store all of that. It's
Cool.
definitely coming up soon. Yep, and that's it.
Awesome. Anyone else who didn't go yesterday who wants to go?
Roadblock. Go ahead, Nicole. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I don't have to go. I thought he had forget like Roadblocks, but maybe not.
Nope. I asked Wayne. He's good on that. Scotty, did you want to go?
All right. Yeah, I guess. I'm sorry. So the last time me and you spoke, I had a decent amount. I'll show you what I got. I don't know why, but I moved it over to React, and let's see. Or I'm attempting to move it over to React. I'm working on my back end. You're saying I'm a whole hello world. We're gonna see what that look like. Trying to actually get my database together. I have the data that I need for the database. I actually have a couple different places that I'm gonna gather those from, but just trying to start, I guess, on the bare minimum of, not bare minimum, but the like very beginning steps of my back end. Wishing me luck because it's making my brain put in. But let's see if I can move this down. So in React, I cannot get the hang of putting my picture in. It's really weird. I tried to look up different ways. I tried to require the photo in. I tried to import it in, and I guess I'm kind of stuck in the area, but I can attempt to do a one-on-one with someone to see if they can help me in that. And I guess that will help me. My next step would be adding on my my next pages, but trying to put it into React, I guess my issue more so is like having the code, and it's really different in comparison to it being in regular HTML, if that makes sense. I don't hold on. Let's see.
Yeah, so one trick is you want to start thinking in components, right? Thinking in bits and pieces. So instead of thinking about this as one giant page, thinking
Mhm.
about this as, oh, my nav bar and my home section and my footer are 3 separate components. So if you start breaking it down into that component level and thinking about every page is its own component, and then within those components there are additional components, that
Mhm.
may make it a little bit easier to get started there.
Okay. I
But
think
feel free to schedule a one-on-one and we might be
Yeah.
able to jumpstart you there.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thank you.
Anyone else who didn't go yesterday? I think Tiffany and Chaz are the only 2 that I think are left. Go ahead, Chaz.
All right, I'll go. So I'm in kind of the same spot that like I think Corey was in. So I'm still catching up on homework and a lot of things. But my idea for my capstone was I kind of wanted to make something like kind of like a LinkedIn, but for like musicians. So kind of like a website where you can find like local artists and you can connect with them and kind of send files back and forth to each other. I found a couple different APIs and databases that list concerts and events that are going on in your area or close by you. So I'm kind of like in the beginning stages of that. But
Okay, do you have any wireframes done or any jump starts on front ends?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. So I'm in very much the beginning stages.
Okay. Awesome. Tiffany, I know I know you're not feeling the best. Are you up for going, or should we save you for another day?
I mean, I can probably go. I don't have too much to show right now, but I can kind of explain it. So still in the same boat too, working on catching up on homework, but the last time we spoke, my capstone idea was like kind of like a mental health resources based website, location based counseling, things like that. Right now, I'm working on, like, I started the wireframing, for each page. And right now, I'm working on trying to work on incorporating like the audio, because I know we had spoken about it and I wanted to, have some audio with like calming music or meditation music playing. So I'm just kind of like reading and looking at resources online and kind of working on trying to incorporate that.
Okay. Where are you at code wise? What are your next steps?
Next steps, I want to be able to provide, I want to be able to do like make my buttons active and do like my links so that, you know, if you click on something, you know how when we did the portfolio and like you would click on like, let's say, you know, about or something, and it would take you to that page. So I'm working on trying to make all my buttons and things active.
Okay. And then after that, do you have an idea of backend steps?
Not too much right now. No, I definitely need to schedule one-on-one with that. I've kind of been like rewatching the classes and things that were recorded since we started doing, you know, like the full stack, so I can just kind of brush up on the back end part a little bit more.
Okay. And then any roadblocks?
I think biggest roadblock that I had so far was just kind of trying to figure out the layout of the website, and because I know it can tend to be like content heavy, you know what I mean? And I don't want to make it, I want it to be able to have the necessary resources, but still be user friendly at the same time. So just kind of trying to figure out, you know, what to have, what's necessary and what's not, was like my biggest thing.
Okay. Okay. I believe that is everyone. Did I miss anyone? All right. With that
Yeah,
said,
his hand up for a minute. I don't know if he still needs that.
who?
Chaz.
Oh no, Chaz went. I think he had his hand raised for going earlier. With that said, what did we learn yesterday?
Somebody
Yesterday
that-
was like
Log in.
Somebody call me.
No, you're fine, Chaz.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so we
Yesterday-
started on login. What did we learn from login?
it was more of a review of concepts we already knew.
Yep, we got started on pulling in Bootstrap. We did a little bit of our React routing. What else did we touch into yesterday?
When you add Bootstrap, there is an HTML page in the front end, but when you go to add Bootstrap, you can only add things that will style your HTML. You shouldn't put HTML in your index.html page.
Absolutely, good review, right? Letting React do the React stuff and do that in JavaScript instead of loading up your index.html. So good recap, good summary there.
Browser routes, I think it was.
Browser routes. Yep, we had to set up our React project to support routes, and the notion that every page that we need is going to be its own route. And then that route is tied to a path. So the browser knows where to go. And then based off of that path, it will also tie it to a component. And then when we return things from that component, that's what emulates the page.
When you are importing, you need to use // as long as you are import. And then if you need to go up a level like you do in the terminal, you need to use ..
Yes. Yep. That's called relative file paths. That is relative to the current file. So when you have a single dot that's saying, hey, the file is relative to this current folder, a dot would be saying, hey, it's relative to the folder above whatever current file I am in. Anything else from yesterday that we touched on?
I want to touch on something before we start today.
What's that?
Whoever has not filled out the form so we all can get our laptops, please fill out the form. Don't make us have to find out who you are and come get you.
So thank you for that reminder. There is a form. I know you guys all got emails about this. Sorry, I just went into Canvas and got a message that I think they just got bought out or bought someone. But anyway, in Canvas, there is a link in the assignments. I'm trying to get the assignment number. I want to say it's around 50. No, it is not. It is 53. There is a form to fill out if you would like to be able to keep your laptop after graduation. Even if you don't, it's still beneficial to fill it out for the other students so they may get a chance to keep their laptop at graduation. It is free to you. All you need to do is provide some information. It is with our partners over at Working Solutions. Nothing is finalized there, but the more form submissions we get, the more likely it is that you'll be able to keep your laptop. I did not know that it was all or nothing. That's something that I found out from Jesse when he posted that message earlier today or yesterday. So really beneficial to go fill that out. Christy, if you can remember, give us another reminder at 7 o'clock so students can remember to do it during the break. But it really only takes a couple minutes to fill out and is an awesome opportunity to keep the laptop for you guys. Any other questions, concepts we should cover before we dive into tonight? Okay. I am going to kick us off by sharing the starter code. So I am going to make a copy of my day 1 folder in my week 18 folder. I'm going to rename it to day 2. And then I will send this to you guys in the live stream channel in Slack. So if you would like to start with my code, you can. If you would like to keep going with your own code, just go ahead and duplicate the day 1 folder, rename it to day 2. Once you have your day 2 folder, whether it is from my code or your own code, we are going to go ahead and pop open the front end with VS Code and the back end with VS Code. We are then going to right click on package.json, open an integrated terminal, npm I. We're going to repeat that process on the back end, open an integrated terminal, npm I. We are going to switch back to our front end and npm run start. And we're going to go to our back end and npm run start. And our browser should pop up. That should look something like this. And if you click on the login screen, you should get to the login that we created. And then finally, I am going to start a live share. And that is in Slack, and it is coming in Zoom as well, if I can find where the chat went. And we'll kick off a poll to make sure that everyone is good to go on the front end and the back end, and having, again, what you're shooting for here is having your login screen up. Starting the poll now. And while you guys are working on that, I will be in person for office hours on Sunday at 5 p.m. So if you would like to come down to Common Space for office hours, I will be in person. I will also fire up Zoom for anyone who would like to attend virtually. But if you would like to make that a little capstone working session or a homework catch-up session, you are welcome to come down and work out of Common Space. I will be there for at least an hour, if not 2. So if you would like some additional homework catch-up help, or prefer to be in person, you're welcome to do that. And then all of next week, I will be in person for class. So Monday through Thursday next week, I will be in person at Common Space. As we get to more and more capstone work and we start covering less new concepts, it should be easier to be in person and be able to get that live help. So next week, I will be fully in person, and then I will actually be traveling most of August, either down at my parents' house or going out to my brother. So I will still be here for classes and teaching. I just may be teaching from a different location or a different time zone. But we'll still be around for regularly scheduled classes. And then middle of August, I think it's August 15th to, I want to say, the 18th, you'll have Nathan Evans back for DevOps.
Can you run through the steps just one more time?
Yep. You are in Finder. You are going to either duplicate the day 1 folder and rename it to day 2, or you're going to pull my zip out from Slack, drop it in the week 18 folder, double click on it, and that will get you the 2 folders, front end and back end. You're going to then open these 2 folders in VS Code. Once you do, right click on package.json, open an integrated terminal. You're going to run npm install, hit enter. Once that is done, you're going to npm run start, and then you're going to rinse and repeat on the back end. You're going to right click on package.json, open an integrated terminal, npm install, npm run start, and that should bring you to your home screen that looks like this, and you should be able to click on the login button.
Gotcha.
Anyone who needs help or has questions, let me know. We are only at 6 votes in. I would love to get 2 more, and then we'll be able to keep going.
Hey, yes, I'm sorry. Using your code, I crashed. It says that something is still listening on 3001 for my back end, that thing, and I closed out my back end that I was showing, so I'm not.
Okay, two things. One, if you are using my code from the zip instead of your own, if you go to db.js, make sure that your username is in here instead of hack upstate. That's something that we learned yesterday. And then on top of that, if you are having an issue of something else running on 3001, click down in the terminal and hit Control-C. Make sure all the other back-end terminals are closed out, and then hit up and enter to restart the server. And if you're still having a problem, let me know and we'll figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, it should just be the name because mine's crashed as well until I updated the name.
You need to share your screen.
Oh no, mine's is good now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I just had to change the name.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen. So I changed my name and it is
Go for it.
All right. I'm just trying to double check to make sure I'm not running nothing else on that server. Okay. All right. Screen. How to get back to my.
Okay, so it does say that it's running somewhere else.
Yeah.
Let me request remote control.
Gotcha.
And I am going to take a look at your VS Code just to see if we've got anything else going on in here. And let's see if I do show all windows.
Oh, hold on. It do look like I might. Is it this one?
That
that's
is your
front
ad
end,
front
so-
end. So I'm just going to minimize that.
Yeah.
This is the back end. Okay, so something is still holding on. Let me look in your terminal. That terminal doesn't have anything. And if we start it one more time, with an npm run start, still has in use. So we are going to go nuclear, somewhat nuclear. We are going to go to activity monitor and just do a search for node. And we are going to stop this so it's not causing any problems. We are then going to come in here and start telling things to quit.
Okay.
And we are going to come back over here and start your front end. And we're going to go back to your back end and start that. And you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Rebooting your computer is also a way to get the ports to give up whatever they're running on, but obviously that can take a minute or two. Okay, so we are going to keep rolling here. I am going to, what we want to do is get our input working, right? We want to get it so that when we submit the login, it's going to actually log into the server with all of the authentication stuff we've already done with our login endpoint right here. So basically what we're trying to do, first step, is get our front end to actually use our login. And if the front end can talk to the back end, now we've got that full stack communication going on, right? So first things first, we've got to hook up our state so we can tell what's been typed in on those inputs. So we're going to say const username and set username is equal to a use state. Use state is a React concept, and it's going to start out as an empty string. Now, because I did a use state, I immediately get an error down here that use state is not defined. And that's because we need to import use state from React. And now that we have, our error goes away, although it's saying that username and set username are not being used yet. That's okay. We'll come back to getting that set in 1 minute. We are also, while we're at it, going to create our password and our set password. And that is also going to equal a use state that starts out as an empty string. Now we need to connect these up. So I'm actually going to delete out this ID and the described by, just because we aren't using either of those. And I'm going to replace it with the value of username and then say, hey, when this changes, get the event. And when you get the event, set the username to the event target value. And then we're going to rinse and repeat down here. For the password, we are going to say, hey, we're not using this ID, so let's get rid of it. Oh, you know what? We are using that ID for the label. Oops, let me put that back. ID username and HTML for password, ID password. And then we are going to say on change of the get the event. And when we get the event, set the password to the event target value. And the value of the password is going to be the password. So goal here is to say, let me see if I can fit this all on the screen. Whenever the username changes, whenever someone types it in, that's going to trigger the event. From within that event, whatever the target of the event is, that's going to be the text input, get the value that was typed in, take that value, set it into the username. That username is coming up here and storing it in the use state from here. That use state is going to update the username field, which is used as the value right down here. So the goal of all of that is when we click the login button, this username right here, which is also connected to this username right up here, that username we're going to now get access to. So whenever they type things into that, we'll be able to use that in our fetch request. So what I did here is something similar. We did our password, our set password. We pulled all of that in from use state. We then say, hey, the value of this input field is going to be the password here. And whenever that input field changes, get the value out from the event, set it into the password. That set password is coming in and tying into our state from up here. Take a minute, let you guys catch up there before we roll forward.
Can you go over the next steps for the terminal? Because I had trouble getting my npm run starts going.
Yep, the terminal, all you need is an npm install enter, and then an npm run start enter.
Oh no, after that, did we do anything else in the terminal?
Nothing else in the terminal. Only changes we've made are all in this login file.
Thank you.
Probably not the best starting point because there's nothing to test here. If you did it all right, your username and password field should be working just the same. But there's a reason why we are setting that up to the state and linking all of that in, which we'll go over in 1 second.
Max,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, should we have an error on our login 3000? No.
No.
Yeah, I got an error too.
What's your error?
Mine is set username is not a function.
Okay, so come up here, make sure that you've got square brackets around your around your two things up here.
Square brackets. Got it.
Christy, do you have the same error, set username is not a function, or do you have a different one?
Mine says that username is not defined.
Okay, so make sure you have this whole line up here that is setting up username, set username, and pulling them both in from set use state.
Okay, wait 1 second. Mine is saying line 20.
Yep, but go up to the top where you define where set username is supposed to be.
Yeah, I have the square brackets.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen.
Let's see. Okay. Um, So it's my, okay, wait, let me just bring this over. Great.
Okay, so let me see your code. Scroll up a little bit. You've got a capital N in set username.
Voila, magic.
Click on the login button just to make sure it's all working. Yep, you're good to go.
Cool beans.
All right, we are gonna keep rolling forward here. Any questions before we roll forward? Okay, so now that we've got access to that data, we need to figure out, okay, when do we actually do the login? Well, we want to do the login when this login button is clicked, which is basically when the form is submitted. So what we are going to do is on this form tag, we're going to say on submit, actually do the login. And then we got to tell it, well, how do we do the login? So we say const login, which is going to take a parameter of EVT. And then by default, the form wants to refresh the page because it wants to send the data to the back end. But we want control over that ourselves. We don't want it to default to submitting or refreshing the page. We want to take care of the refresh or the navigation ourselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to say event prevent default. That's going to prevent the page from refreshing so we can make our own API call. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this whole thing in a try. And we're going to catch an error if it happens. And we'll handle that error in 1 second. But for now, let's just console error out our error. Okay, now in the try, we've got to make our API call. So what we're going to do is we're going to say const response equals await. And because we did await, what's the first thing that we do before we write anything else? We come up to our function and mark it as async. Then we come down here and we say fetch. And what we've always done up until this point is we said HTTP localhost 3001. However, we're going to up the ante a little bit today. What happens when you deploy your app? Your app isn't going, your backend server isn't going to be on localhost 3001 anymore. It's going to be somewhere on the internet, right? It's going to be api.mydomainname.com or something else. Well, once you deploy this, we're going to be making 5 or 6 API calls today. So when you deploy this, you would have to go into your code and in 5 different places, go change localhost 3001 to api.mydomain.com. And that would be really annoying to find all of those places to do that. So instead, we do something that is called an environment variable. And we basically say, hey, depending on what environment this is running on, whether it's my local dev machine or whether it's my production instance, there are certain values that are going to change. So what we're going to do is in the source folder, we're actually going to create a new file called API-URL.js. And in there, well, all we need to do is export a default. And what we are going to do is say, hey, my URL right now is localhost 3001. Now, every time we make an API call, instead of typing in localhost 3001, we're going to import it from the API URL. That means that whenever we go to deploy this, we can change this one file, and every place we make an API call will know to use whatever the value is in here instead of having to update it across all those different files. So in order to do that, we come back into our login.js and we import our API URL. Now down here, instead of saying 3001, we're going to use a template literal and just pull in our API URL. May not make a ton of sense right now because we've only made one API call so far, but as we keep on doing more API calls, doing this API URL file will make it much easier to have one location to update our URL everywhere. This API URL, I will put it down at the bottom. All it is an export default localhost 3001. Okay, so now that we've got our API URL, let's have some fun. We're going to go to the login endpoint, and we know our login endpoint is a post request. So that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say the method is going to be a post. We know that the headers we need to send in are going to say the content type is application JSON. And we also need to send in a body that is going to be stringified. And that stringified body is going to contain our username and our password. Now, once we get that, what we are going to do is say, hey, go get me the data by parsing out the response and getting the JSON. And then let's just start with a console.log data here. So I go over to my browser. I say my username is Max and my password is ABC. I go into my inspect and look in my console. I hit log and I get promise pending. Well, that's because I forgot to put an await in here. So I try that again. I click the login button and I get error, no go, passwords no match. Okay, but that's in my console. I want to get that showing up in my login. So I'm going to do one more step and then we'll poll. I'm going to create one more use state called error and set error. And I'm going to say use state, start that out as an empty string. And if the data contains an error, then set the error to whatever the error is in the data. Otherwise, redirect to next screen. Here, login was successful. We'll take care of that in 1 second. So now that I'm setting my error in and I have access to it in the state, the only thing I need to do is make that show up in my code. So I'm going to come down to my login button and I'm going to say, hey, there's a p tag here with a style and it's going to have a color of red. And we're going to put in the error that comes back. So I come over here, I type in Max, I type in ABC, I hit login, I get no go, passwords no match. Okay. Then I come over here and I say blarg and try and sign in and I get username not found. But what's going to happen is if I type in my super secret password and log in, I have success true open sesame. Okay, we're going to take care of that in 1 second and get it redirecting to the right spot. But first, let you guys catch up here. So I'm going to leave that up on the screen. That looks like almost everything. And we'll start another poll. No, this is a lot of code, but take a step back. Even if you are just going along for the ride, make sure you understand it. If you have any questions, please fire them off.
I got a quick question.
Yep.
Where did the catch error go? Did you replace it?
The catch is down here.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? We can even do one step more. We can use that error that we just did and say something like login API call failed, check console for more details.
Max,
Yep.
I just caught up with the code, but in the browser, what was it supposed to do? Because I it still looks like login username password, but I think you did something I missed.
Yep. One thing, if you have your set error working, make sure you've got this P tag down on 68 with the error message in it. And if you have that, when you come over here, if you type in incorrect information and hit login, it should have that error show up in red text.
Let's see. No, and I do have that line, so I think I'm
Go share screen. Okay, that looks good there. You do have a warning. Do I have that warning? See if I have that warning. Terminal go. Oh, I do have that warning. So that is not your problem. Okay, let me take a look. If error, set data error. all of that looks good. Let's head to console login. You are missing on line 39. Your form should have an on submit equal to curly brace login. So you did the whole function of how the login is supposed to work, but now you've got to link your form to the login function that you just made. Don't forget your capital S and an equal there. Okay, save and see what happens. Okay, go back to your login function, scroll up to the top.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, for some reason, your login function did not link to the on submit. So scroll down a little bit. Should be a lowercase L. Okay, try that.
Hey,
Good work.
thank you.
Christy, go ahead.
I have this with this, or this, and then it's right here. So it's pointing to a weight.
And what is our rule with a weight?
Fact. Is it fact? No.
Whenever
Wait.
we need a weight, before we can use a weight, we have to do something.
I know what it is. I just can't think of it right at this second.
How do you tell the computer to expect an await?
I can't think of the word.
Then look at the
Yes. Wait. This is like the temperate literal thing.
Okay, so SRC is not defined. All right, let's go look at your API URL file. I don't know what line 2 is. Delete that whole line 2.
Oh, maybe I don't know what that's about. Okay. And then what did we do so we could test it?
Just type in, or you can just click the login button and see if that, yep, username not found. So you're good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I know 2 of you have got it working and have not voted in the poll. How many other people have not voted in the poll? Oh, there you all are. It's almost like we can continue if you guys vote. Go ahead, Zach. Okay,
I've got this. It's saying like this form, closing form shouldn't be here.
Go up to your opening form. I bet you something went wrong when you put the on submit on it.
Oh, okay.
No, that's appears to be fine. Div. Okay, I'm missing something obvious. Scroll up a little bit to where you define your login. Try catch. Nope, you've got me almost stumped. Let me take remote control. Is it something you open this div? Let me look at where I've got. I have that div and the div closes. Label input. This is missing a closing div. Somehow this isn't this div open, but you didn't have it closed here.
Okay.
And that was causing all the other problems.
Okay. Sweet. Thank you.
No problem. Nicole, go ahead.
How do I, am I not sharing?
My code is just showing a blank screen.
Okay, go ahead and share. Go to your, let me see your browser. You have to go to /login up at the top. In your browser. $3,000, so 0/login, enter. There you go. So you need to check your on submit and make sure that you've got an event prevent default. On submit, you need a lowercase L there instead of a capital one. Cool, good to go. Okay, we've got enough votes in. Any final questions before we continue? Okay. So we've got our login working. Now let's actually get it to take us to the next screen. So the goal here is that after we log in, it kind of takes us to an admin screen. And on that admin screen, we can create a like a new blog post kind of screen. But before we get to that, this is going to drive me crazy. So to fix that in our API URL, let's do this instead. Let's say export default API URL equal. Nope, it doesn't export. Let's do it like this. Const API URL is equal to that, and then export default API URL. There we go. That takes care of the error for us. So even though that was functional, JavaScript didn't like the way that we had that worded. So I just made it a const and then exported it instead. And that's what made it happy. Okay, so we're done there. Now what we need to do is get that admin page set up so that we've got a place that we can go to after we get our login working. So I'm going to make a new file called admin.js. And in my admin.js, I'm going to make it a standard component. So I'm going to say const admin equals an arrow function that's going to return out a div that has an h1 that says admin. And we export our default admin. We then need to set up our route. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to open our app.js. I'm going to come up here and import my admin from my admin page. And once I have it, I need to set up that route. So I come down here, I say route path equals admin, element equals admin. And I close out that tag. And then finally, I need to say, hey, once we are done, navigate to this other page. But in order to be able to navigate to that other page, I need to be able to pull something in from the router to be able to take it there. So I'm going to say import use navigate from React router DOM. Once I've got that in, I can say const navigate equals use navigate. And once I have all of that done, I can finally come down here and replace or come under this comment and say navigate. And I want to navigate to my admin page. Okay. Created a new component called admin, made it just say h1 admin. Then we created the route for that in my app.js after I imported the admin. And then I added in my use navigate up here, said use navigate is going to equal navigate. And then down here, I was able to use my navigate to take me to the admin page. So the end result of this should be if I type in my username and my password and I get it right, I am taken to the admin page. However, if I go back to my login screen and I type in Max and a bad password, it will still say no go, passwords no match. But if I do the right password and hit login, it takes me to the admin screen.
Where do we put the username and the password again? Where did we put that? The username and the password?
Up here,
Right, but what is it?
whatever gets typed in on the login screen here. Oh, you're saying where do we set it for the first time? That's
Right.
over in our backend. So in our backend code, if you go down to the bottom, you should have a create first user function, and that should have the username and the password here.
Okay, got it. Haha, my computer asked me if I wanted to save it.
Hey, Max.
Yep.
Where were we supposed to put import navigate from React router DOM? I think I put it in login by mistake.
It should be in login. You need your import use navigate up at the top. You then need a line to use navigate and set that equal to the navigate function. And then finally, you can use your navigate down here.
Sorry, what was that second part? I had navigate typed in instead of use navigate for the first part.
Import use navigate equals navigate. And then finally down here, we can say navigate to the admin screen.
So you put the navigate in the admin because, or is that in the else? I thought it was in the catch, but never mind. I see it's in the else if statement.
Yep.
So in the browser then, we're still getting the error in for login, but if we do the 3000/admin, it shows admin.
No, you should be able to, if you are typing in the right username and password here and click the login button, it should take you to the admin screen.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me try that. Oops. Login. So you just leave it blank and you hit login and it's supposed to move forward one screen?
No, it's supposed to
Oh.
be whatever information you have in your backend. So I set mine to max and the password to super secret.
Oh. Hold
And
on.
so if you do whatever your username and password are in the backend and try to sign in here with that, it should take you to the admin screen.
I had mine set to yours as well and it didn't work.
Go ahead and share your screen.
Let's see. So I didn't change mine from yours.
Okay.
Should I try now or
Why
not?
What did you have it at initially?
Just yours.
Okay,
So
so
it said,
leave it in as that.
Yeah. So
And then go ahead and okay, so open up your Beekeeper for me. And connect to default and then change it from your database in the top left to the blog. Then click into users. And at some point you had a user created for you, which is why it's not creating a user for me. So if you right click on that row, you can delete it and apply in the bottom right. Then go back to your backend code. Click into the backend terminal, Control-C to stop it. And then up enter to restart it. And that on the restart is going to recreate my max super secret username and password. So now when you go to the front end, you should be able to use max and super secret to sign in. Bingo.
hey, okay. And really quick though, I'm not sure I understand the Beekeeper part, like why that was there and then why deleting it made it work.
Yeah, so go back to your backend code. What happened was on Thursday, you wrote all of this code out with me, right? And when you did it, you changed this to say your username right here back on Thursday. So what happened is today it started up the code and it said, oh, okay, the server just turned on, create the first user. Okay, we go to create the first user, we go find all the users in the database. That comes out as users. Users.length is not equal to 0 because your user account from Thursday still existed. So because of that, it didn't create a new user in here. It just used what was already in the database from Thursday, which was your user account.
Gotcha.
So what we ended up doing is we went to the database and we said, well, we'll make the user's length 0. We're going to just delete the row that's in the database. Now, when we restart the server, it goes to find all the users. It doesn't find any. And because of that, it did create a new user for us. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Zach, go ahead.
I know you just helped Steph with that, but I fell behind because I'm having some sort of issue with my terminal.
Okay. Control-C npm run start. That's your in my code somehow.
Okay.
Okay, is that hopefully that's your problem? Let's see. Control C, npm I, npm run start.
Sometimes it moves around the screens on me, so I end up looking at the wrong thing.
Okay, that all looks good. So go to your front end.
Oh,
And I'm sorry, go to your browser and log in, and you're good to go.
oh, okay, thanks.
I think you fixed the problem and then just you restarted the wrong server.
Okay, thanks.
Quick question, Max. It's
Yep.
Maybe a simple one. Let me show you. This dev failed loads source map. Is it just
That's
node?
fine. You can ignore that.
Okay. All right. Is it always gonna come up though? Pop up?
I don't have it coming up in mine, so I'm not quite sure why it's coming up in yours. Does anyone else have that?
Is it because of the stuff that I did? You know, the other stuff.
It could be. The only time you really see things is when you have like an extension installed in your Chrome, and because of that, that's why it's not coming up.
Okay. All right.
That's the only thing that I can think of for that, is if you've got an extension installed in Chrome. All right. Go ahead, Nicole.
I'm stuck.
Okay, go ahead. Share the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, app.js 13.
You see. Is it because I'm here?
Nope, you're supposed to be in the login screen.
Oh, okay.
Go to your app.js line 13. And you're using admin right here. Where are we supposed to import admin? Nope. That's where we export it. Where do we import it?
To the front end, right? Or the back end?
Nope. Oh, nope.
Oh, I don't know then.
Go to your app.js. Where do we import login?
Oh, my bad. Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, final call for questions before we roll forward. Only 10 minutes to the break. Let's get one final thing wrapped up if we can. So we just did all of that login work. I'm in desktop one. I'm in my login screen. I'm not logged in, right? You can see I'm not logged in. But what happens if I'm some sneaky little hacker and go to a website and try to go right to the admin screen? Well, I'm not logged in and I was able to get to the admin screen. We shouldn't be able to do that. So what we need to do is we need to tell the admin screen to check to see if we are logged in or not. So what we're going to do in VS Code in my front end, I'm going to open, I'm only working in the admin here. I'm going to say, hey, when the page first loads, and in order to do that, we need a use effect. And we are going to say, check login status. And that's going to be an async function because we're going to need to do a fetch. And we're going to say, check login status down here. Now we need to tell it how to check the login status. So we're going to say const response equals await. And we are going to fetch to our localhost 3000. Oh, no, we're not. We are going to use our API URL instead. So now, because that's coming in from my import API URL, when I need to change that for when I deploy my site, I'll be able to change it in one place and it will change everywhere. And I'm going to check my login status. And the response is going to get me some data. That's going to come from the JSON, and then we are going to console log out the data. And here we can even get fancy with our navigate again, right? We can say import use navigate from React Router DOM, and we can get access to our navigate by using a navigate. And then here we can say if the data is logged in, then do nothing, they are allowed to be here. Else, navigate them to the login screen. Okay. All looks pretty clear, right? We use an effect and we say, hey, the first time the page loads, check the login status, which is an async function. We're going to make a fetch to our API. Our API endpoint is going to be login status. That's going to get some JSON back. Once it gets the JSON back, it's going to log out our data. And based off of that data, it is going to say if they're logged in, they're good to be on the admin page. Otherwise, navigate them back to login and make them go sign in. So I come over here, I refresh my admin page, and what do I get? Login status 404 not found. What does that mean? Where do I go to fix that?
The backend.
The backend. So I go to my backend code, and I've got my login endpoint here, but I don't want to make them log in again. I just want to see if they are logged in. So what I do is I say, all right, under my login, I'm going to make a new server.get, login status. And that's going to be a rec-res. And it's going to res.send back the login status. And that login status is going to come from, where's that going to come from? They logged in here. We made sure that they were logged in and their password was right. We took them to the login screen. But how does the server remember whether they were logged in or not? That's a problem. How do we keep track of whether or not that user is logged in? It's almost like the server needs to keep track of a session of the user in order to know, hey, did the user sign in? Did they create a new session that they can go interact with the page? So after the break, we're going to dive into getting session set up, which is the last full stack concept we need for authentication. And then we get to finish out the rest of the CRUD operations on our blog post. But we've got that last concept we've got to get over, which is this notion of how does the server keep track of a user across many different API URLs to be able to know if they are signed in or not. So I'm going to leave this code up on my screen. And when we get back, we're going to work on getting this login status to work by keeping track of some information during the login. Take a break, be back at 7:20. Make sure your admin screen is caught up and looks like this. And I will see you at 7:20.
Fill out the form, fill out the form, fill out the form.
And fill out the laptop form. I will go copy and paste the URL one more time. Even if you don't want to keep the laptop after graduation, think about your fellow students and fill out the form.
Take one for the team.
I'll see you guys after break. All right, so let's dive in here. So the problem they're trying to solve is the person logged in here. But how do we keep track of what person is logged in and what person is just going directly to the admin page? So we need to set up the notion of a session, because a session will follow the user across the server, so that we can get that information in every single request. And this is a secure way of doing it, right? Because there are some hacky ways of saying, well, just send their password in every time they make an API call. Well, now all of a sudden you have to store their password on the front end. So every time you make an API call, you can authenticate them. Now, that's not the best option, right? Because you don't want to have to store the password. That's a security risk, all of that stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up this notion of a session on the server. And the session, because it's server side, it will be more secure and it will keep track of that user. So to get started, we're going to Command C in our backend and npm install 2 packages. One is going to be express-session, and the other one is going to be connect session sequelize. And the reason why we need both of them is one is going to maintain the session for us. This connect session sequelize is what's going to store the session for us in the database. So we are going to run those commands. Oh, sorry, I don't know why that showed up on another line. Let me paste that in there and also put it in the live stream. Okay, so once we have installed express-session and connect-session-sequelize, we are going to npm start our server again. If we forget to do that, we will get all kinds of 400 not founds or 404 not founds or 500 cannot connect. So we want to make sure we do an npm run start after we've got both of those packages installed. Now we need to do the grunt work to get all of this set up. So what we're going to do is, just like body parser and bcrypt, we're going to set up our session. So we're going to say const sessions equals require express-session. And then what we need to do is tell our sessions how to store things in the database. So what we do is we say const sequelize store is equal to require, and what we're requiring in is our connect session sequelize. That's the npm package. That's what we just installed. And then what we are going to do is send in the sessions right here, store. So what we are basically doing is connecting this package into this package. So those two are now wired together. We need to do one more step. Sorry, that should be sessions store. Now we need to do one more step, which is telling the Express server to actually use those sessions. So we're going to say server use, just like we told the server to use cores and the server to use body parser. We're going to tell the server to use sessions, and we need to give the session some information to work. So we're going to send in an object, and in that object, we need to give it a secret. This secret is what is used to encrypt the data so that the information is not readily accessible to all users. So the secret can really be anything. Normally, it's a random string of characters. In this case, we can make it anything. So let's make it my secret key. You can make it whatever you would like, as long as it doesn't change after the server restarts. If the server restarts and the secret is different, it will not be able to access any of the logged in sessions that already exist. Then we need to tell it, hey, where do we, my secret key. Then we need to tell it, hey, where are we going to store these sessions? We're going to store these sessions in the sequelize store that we just created right here. And that store is going to get access to the database coming from our db.js file. And then finally, we need to tell it, hey, how long should this session last? And we would like it to last 1 month. But it needs to know in milliseconds how long should a session last before the user automatically gets signed out. So in order to tell it how long a month is, we're going to say, hey, 1 month is equal to, well, there are 1,000 milliseconds in a second. There are 60 seconds in a minute. There are 60 minutes in an hour. There are 24 hours in a day. And there are 30 days in 1 month. And if we save all of that and don't have any errors down in our terminal, you are all caught up. I'm just gonna, I'll leave it as is. So all of this code is the new code. This db.js is the only line that we added. And all of this is in the documentation. So if you wanted more information about Express Session and how we know to set it up, it's in the docs. If you wanted to know more about Connect Session Sequelize, how we tie it into the store coming from the session, all in the docs. If you wanted to know, hey, what are all of the parameters in here, all in the docs.
Max, is there any reason why you capitalize Sequelize store?
No, normally whenever we use the new keyword, we are creating a new instance of something so that we capitalize it when we like use the what's called the constructor, and then we would lowercase the output of it. I don't really have it would work fine if we just did it like this and like this. It would be the exact same thing. So if that looks more natural to you, you're welcome to leave it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Christy, go ahead.
My server says NodeMon app crash waiting for file changes before starting.
Okay, what's the error above it?
Error, cannot find module express session.
Means you did not install it properly. So go back up to your install command, and your install command probably errored out.
So when you first started, did you say Command C or Control C?
Control C to stop the server.
So should I start from there again?
Yep.
So Control C. And then I did this express session first and then
Connect session sequelize.
and it's npm express session and then session. You know what? Probably spells equalize wrong.
Let's kick off a poll and see where you guys are at.
And what
Larry,
did
go
that?
ahead.
Well, let me share
Oh,
right now.
sorry. Go ahead. Okay, this is just an order thing. So if you kind of scroll up a little bit in your code where you do the server.use sessions, that has to be after we connect to the database. So if you take this line and just move it up right here, it should solve your problem.
All right, thank you.
Tell me again what express session and connect session equalized is.
Express session is an NPM package so that the Express API server can store session data about the user. Connect session SQLize is what connects the Express session into our Postgres SQLize database, so that when the server reboots and turns back on, the session data can be retained and not lost in memory.
Okay.
Zach, go ahead.
Mine's working and everything, but I'm getting like a bunch of errors in my actual console for the web browser. I don't know if that's something I need to worry about.
Did you npm run start after you installed the packages?
I think so.
In the backend.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it.
Well, be careful. That's front end, and then in your back end, okay, everything looks good there. So just refresh. Oh, that's normal. We haven't gotten login status working yet.
Cool. Just making sure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the error.
No, you're good. Thanks.
Christy, do you have a question?
No,
Okay.
I just realized.
Go ahead, Nicole. Okay. Oh, connection refused, failed to fetch. Okay, go to your backend code.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, it's my backend.
Okay, and there's an error in the terminal. So scroll up there and see what your error is. Identifier DB has already been defined. So that means that you've got a duplicate line here and here. And you're good to go.
Okay. How come mine said user not found? Well, what, I don't remember the password. Is that like a problem?
The password is set at the bottom of server.js in the hash function, the bcrypt function.
Yeah. It was super secret as yours, but when I did it, it still said no. And then I changed it to hello one and still it didn't work. But
Did you do the steps that Stephanie went through for in Beekeeper deleting out your current username?
no, I'll have to do that.
So open up Beekeeper, connect to the database, switch it to the blog project, go to the users table, delete out whatever row is in there, restart your backend, and then whatever username and password is at the bottom of the page is what will work. So delete out those two. Apply down at the bottom. Okay, yep, you're good. Now go back to your backend code. Control C to stop the server. Up enter to restart the server. Now go to your front end and type in Nicole with a capital N. I'm sorry, go to your in the browser. Try and sign in. Password should be super secret, right? Oh, password's hello1. Is that what you tried? Good to go.
Thank you. I don't
No
know
problem.
if you could hear me.
Good to roll forward. Anyone have questions?
At this point, well, what should we have on our screen? Just to
We
make-
haven't tested any of the session stuff yet. We're about to get into that. So
Okay.
the only thing you should have is this hunk of code right here, but we don't have any way of really testing that yet.
Oh, okay. I got an error message whenever you're ready.
Okay, go ahead and share.
No, I mean, after we start testing, because I pressed the login thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So we are at a point where when we're at our admin screen and we refresh, we've got that internal server error because the login status, we couldn't finish writing that function. So the server's like, don't know how to check login status, right? So what we need to do now that we've done all of the work to get our sessions all set up here, which is a pain in a lot of code, now it's actually pretty easy using the sessions. What we can do is we say, if there is a matching password, go ahead and in the session, set the user to the user data that we got from up here. And we're also going to tweak this a little bit and just say, hey, just get the raw information back from, nope, put that in the wrong spot. Get the raw query from the database. So when we say raw true here, all we're doing is getting back the raw user data. We're not getting back all of the helper functions that come with it if we needed to edit the user or whatever. So when we put in the raw true here, it makes it easier for the database result to store the user data into the session. Now what we can do is we can say, hey, when we check the login status, log out the rec.session.user. So I save that. I come back over to my admin page and I refresh and I still get a 500 internal server error. So I come over here and I look and I've got an error that says login status is not defined. So let's just say unknown here. So I'm going to save that. I come back to my admin. I refresh. I get taken to my login screen. All right. I'm going to sign in. I'm going to hit login. And I come over here and I've got undefined. Well, undefined isn't right. I want to see my user data, right? So how do I fix that? Well, what I need to do is tell the front end, hey, in my API call right here, we need to include some information. And so what we need to do is we need to say, include the credentials. And we also need to go to our login.js. And in that API call, we also are going to include the credentials. So basically saying, hey, front end, when you're going to the back end, pass through the credentials, pass through the login information that we used. So I come back to my front end, I clear everything out. I type in max and I type in super secret again, and I log in. And now I've got a different error. Failed to execute fetch on window, failed to read the credentials property from request init. The provided value true is not an enum value of the type request credentials. Because I did it in reverse, damn it, Max. Credentials should be include. Credentials should be set to include. My bad. So in both admin.js, we should have credentials set to include, and in login, we should have credentials set to include. Okay, let me try that again. I'm on my login screen. I type in Max, I type in my password, I hit login, and now I get localhost 3000 origin blocked by cores. Well, what do you mean it's blocked by cores? I've got my cores up here. What do you mean it's blocked by cores? Well, I come over here and it says the value access control allow origin header in the response must not be the wildcard when the request credentials mode is include. Okay, what's all of that mean? That means over here in our cores, we can't just say allow cross origin requests from any website. We need to specifically say, hey, cores, allow the credentials to be passed into the server and also allow the origin localhost 3000 into the backend. So that when the credentials come in, just know that they're coming in, we're allowing that, and they're going to be coming in from localhost 3000. So after all of this, I hit login, and now I got I got things working here. And if I come over here, look at what came out. Well, where did all of this come from? This came from my console log rec user session. Okay. We're close to actually getting all of this working, believe it or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if there is a rec.session.user res.sendback, the login status is true. They're logged in. Else, res.sendback, the login status as false, they're not signed in. I'm going to do a trace through of all of this in just 1 second. So I come over to my login, I say Max, I say super secret, I log in, and it redirected me. Here, we've got to say on our admin page is logged in is what I should be using. All right, one more time. So I log in, and now I get to my admin screen. Now I can close out of my browser altogether, reopen my browser, go to my localhost 3000/admin, and I'm signed in. And I don't get redirected. So what we're going to do is put one more log out in here. And that log out is going to destroy the session. Then we are going to res.send is logged in as false. So in our front end, we can add a little span. Let's do it in A. That says logout. In our logout, we are going to say, well, when that is clicked on, make a fetch to my API URL. That's going to log me out. In that fetch, we need to include the credentials. And when we are logged out, navigate me back to the login screen. So now on my logout, let me just do some quick styling on that. Now, when I click the logout button, it takes me to the login screen. But watch what happens if I go to the login and change it to admin. I'm no longer logged in. So when I go to admin, it immediately bounces me back to the login screen. I can't get to admin now because the server is saying, no, you're not logged in. If you want to get to the admin page, you got to go log in. So if I come back here, I sign in and I log in. Now I'm on the admin page. And now if I navigate away back and go back to the admin page, I can get right there without having to log in or out. Okay, I know that was a lot. Let's take a step back. Let's take a breather through this and let's walk through the code of how it's following. Ariel just sent me some are lost. I would be surprised if not all of you were lost. We'll go through this step by step to make sure that we're getting this. Okay, so we're going to start with the login screen. Login screen is where all the magic starts. Our login screen has our state in React. Our state in React is keeping track of what letters have actually been typed into the input. From there, we also set up an error so that we can show the error coming back from the API if there is one. Then we set up use navigate so we can navigate the user around different pages. Once we've got navigate working, we come down into the login function. Down here is the rest of this React code. All of this React code, all it's doing is collecting the letters that get typed in and handling when the form is submitted. So the real magic is all in this login function. This login function makes a fetch call to our URL, our API URL, to the login endpoint. It is a post method, and we tell it, hey, we're sending you some JSON, and the JSON we're sending you in the body has the username and the password in it that are coming from the state up here. If at any point I say something where you're like, whoa, say that again, just interrupt me, don't even raise your hand, come off mute. Any questions so far? Okay, so we also include the credentials of this API call. Every time we make an API call, we want to include the credentials so that the server knows whether we are logged in or not. From here, we pause and we say, the front end can't do anything else until the back end figures out what's going on with this login. So now we switch back to the login. That's this big post request here. And what we do is we say, go to the database. This user is coming from our database model up here. Go to the database and go find the username that is coming in from the request body right over here. Once we have found that user, see if there's a user that exists. If there's not, send back username not found. If there is a user, go compare the password that they sent in to the encrypted password in the database. If this password match that they sent in matches this password that was stored in the database, we must have a matching password. For that reason, we can then take the user, again, that's coming from the database up here, and store it in the session so that the server knows that that user is logged in and we can get their information later. Because we are storing this user here, we will be able to use rec.session down the road to identify what user is logged in. So what we do here is we send back, hey, they're signed in, let them in. If they are not signed in, then send back passwords don't match. Okay, that's just the login. Keep in mind that we're storing the session here. So we come back to the front end, and in the front end, we say, hey, get the data from the response and see if there is an error. If there is an error, set it in so the user knows, hey, that username doesn't exist. Hey, that password doesn't exist. Have the user correct that. But if they are signed in and there isn't an error, take them to the admin screen. Pausing there. Do we have any questions about the login here or the login on the backend?
Yeah.
What, Wayne?
Yeah, I'm still trying to I'm hearing what you're saying. It's just taking a bit time to.
So let's just take a 2-minute break. I'm gonna leave this up on the screen. I want everyone to read it over and really try and wrap your head around it. Larry, go ahead. Do you want to share your screen?
Okay, yeah. Just two. So I'm getting this warning down here. A React hook use effect has missing dependency.
Oh, I have it as well. If you put the word navigate in that array right there, it should make the warning go away.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
I'm having issue with my.
You want to share your screen, Wayne?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you're missing the step where we modified line 4 in server.js to make cores work with our login system. So your line 4 compared to my line 4, you need the credentials true and the origin in there. Don't forget your quotes. Beautiful. Give it a try on the front end. And I think you've got a space after your username.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, that will definitely make it wrong.
All right, scroll up in your console so we can see what the error is. Failed to fetch, connection refused. So your backend server is probably not running. So scroll down all the way to the bottom there, and now you've got rec is not defined on 53. So go down to 53, and you accidentally typed an X in your server.logout and save that. And I think you need a function there. So let me just catch you up. You're missing how does this logout actually work? It works by destroying the session and then sending back that is logged in is now false. Okay, give it a try in the front end now. Bingo. And it did take you to your admin page. So I'm guessing your admin page is just missing some text on it.
Okay. I just needed to check on that then. Thank you.
You're almost completely caught up. Larry, go ahead. Okay. So you've got the same CORS error that Wayne did. If you go back to your backend code. Nope, you spelled origin wrong. Although I could also go for some gin tonight. Nicole,
Thank you.
go ahead. No problem.
I think I might have that same thing, so I'm just gonna try to find it because I don't even know where the origin is. So
Go for it. Line 4 of the top of server.js.
mine says chords on it. What? Oh, I see. Okay, never mind.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I fell behind a lot and I'm not sure what I'm looking at or where I should be.
Go ahead, share your screen. Let's take a look. I can't imagine why you would have fallen behind. I just was like, just wanted to get over that finish line. All right, failed to fetch admin line 9. So what you're doing is you are checking the login status. Login status here lines up with your login status here. I'm actually very impressed that you aren't behind. And you're so caught up that you have now officially confused me. Here's what. Oh, no, you did that. You did that. Go back to your browser for me. Scroll up. Does it tell you like why it failed to fetch? Okay, so you've got this CORS issue here. So let's go back to your backend code and scroll up. Okay, so this right here, those two parentheses, you need to have a curly braces in there that says something like credentials : true. And comma origin : in that same spot. colon quote HTTP colon / localhost 3000 slash that's it. So save that, and save that fixes the issue. Basically, Cores gets even pickier and it's like, if someone's sending you in passwords, I want to know who's sending the passwords first. Okay, so that logged you out. That may be a good thing. Try and log in. Identity theft. Bingo, you are officially caught up. You have created your first authentication system from scratch.
Cool. Thank you.
Now if you go to the admin page, because you're signed out, it will actually redirect you to the login page. Well, if you just try and like, if you log out and then change the URL to admin up at the top and hit enter, see how it takes you right back to that login page? It's saying you don't have access to admin, so you need to log in before you can get there.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome work. If you were able to maintain, if you were able to hold on and get that working, you are totally getting the whole full stack thing. Nicole, go ahead.
Okay, 1 second.
I think you're close without realizing it too.
Yeah, but when I go like log in, I don't get the admin page.
Okay, so go to login status. In your backend code. So you've just got a little work to do to get your, scroll down to login status, to get your login status here, and scroll down a little bit to mine. You just have to modify it to use the rec.session.user.
Okay,
So catch
I'm
up
missing
on that. I think that might be the last thing that you need, Nicole.
Okay, thanks.
Larry, go ahead.
I think I'm missing some stuff, but like when I log in, I can see that admin screen flash, and then it goes right back to the login screen. But I see that there's some code in here that I don't have yet, like that stuff.
Probably that login status, and that login status will probably be the last thing that you need.
Was that in the front end and the back end?
We do make a call to the login status on the front end. But if you're getting redirected, this is all of the front end stuff. If you're getting redirected, chances are you already have this login status. So you just need to modify your login status to be wired up to the session.
Okay, thank you.
This arrow, leave me alone.
Okay, so let me just talk through that while you guys are working on it, because this is the last part of the new code. So now that we've got all the session stuff done, up here, if we log in the user, we store their user information into the session. So what happens here is when the admin page loads, it checks for the login status and includes the credentials of the session information. So login status actually has it pretty easy on the server. It checks to see if the user has a session. And if it does, it returns is logged in true. That is logged in gets set to false if the user does not have a session. If the user doesn't have a session, we check to see if they're logged in. If they're logged in, we do nothing. But if they are not logged in, that means they must not have a session over here. So we redirect them to the login page here. All right, now I'm just curious. I've got to launch the final poll. Don't be afraid to vote I'm lost. Don't be afraid if you're 14 steps behind. Want to get everyone feeling like they're on the same page. So if you need help, now's the right time to ask. Or if you want to go in a breakout room, that's also fine. you want to break out room, just shoot me or Ariel a message and we can disappear into one. I say that, but I don't know where my chat went. There it is.
I'm clicking log out and it's not doing anything.
Go ahead and share your screen. Okay, let's see your front end code. Scroll down to your logout.
Oh, stay here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, close out of the 2 tabs on the left.
This, no.
And then this one as well. There you go. Okay, scroll down to your logout. And
Hey.
okay, so everything looks right here. So what we need to do is go to the browser, right click, inspect, and look in your console. And your console is telling us, scroll up a little bit, that there are errors on failed to fetch connection refused. So that says to me that your backend is not running right here.
So it says, so should I go here?
Nope, look, switch to your backend code. Your server isn't running.
I thought I did all of that. Wait, I start, see right here? Oh, I gotta do it all over again, just npm.
Just npm run start.
You know what? I typed npm run start in the chat, so maybe that was where I was.
Could be. Okay, now it's saying session is not defined on line 11. And that's because it should be on 11 sessions. No, you were right. Scroll back over the very end of the line. Right here, it should be sessions.
Right there?
Yep. Save. Okay, server's back up and running. Go ahead and refresh.
Oh.
Okay, now you still have an error, so scroll up. Now it says that you've got a cores issue. So go back to your backend and scroll up and over. And now you are, scroll up a little bit. You're missing the code to allow cores right in here to allow credentials and have the origin be localhost 3000. So just take a look at my code, line 4, and see the difference there.
Okay, thank you.
I think you're close.
Oh, good grief.
When did I have time to type that in?
Right. So, oh my gosh. All of that. All of that. Oh.
Save, go back to the front end, refresh.
Here. Here.
Hey, it's a good sign. Go ahead and try and log in. Good work.
I need a drink.
Go ahead, Larry.
It's still the same thing happening when I try to log in. It still flashes the admin screen. It goes back.
Okay, let me see your login status.
Where did it go?
I saw it for a second. It's below login. Okay, is logged in, true, false, rec session user. Scroll up to your login just a little bit. You set rec session user right there. Okay, so it must be a problem with go to your front end code to the fetch on the login status. And credentials include, yeah. Okay, go to your fetch for the initial login. And did you have credentials include in here?
No.
Try and add it in there.
Okay, thank you.
And if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to remote control and take a look because I'm not quite sure why it wouldn't work after that.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
Yep, go for it.
Sorry. So is it something that I'm not putting in? Because I think everything is added.
Yep, go to your app.js. Actually, go to your login page. And when you navigate them, you do navigate them to admin, so lowercase a. You must have fixed that already. So to reset all of this out, just go back to your browser and go to /login. Okay, try and sign in.
Forgetting the password. Oh yeah. What's going on? Wonderful.
Okay.
That's what
Now you're at admin, but it says no routes match location admin. So that means in your app.js, in your front end code, you did not create a route for your admin. So you've got the component, but you don't have the admin route.
So I need to create a
Mm-hmm. And up in your import on line 5, make sure it's a capital A. Save. Try and log in. Okay, so it's flashing for 1 second and then redirecting you. So there's got to be a problem in your admin code. So go to your admin in the front end. and go up a little bit to the you missed the capital L in logged in, is logged in.
Oh. Ooh, thank you.
Good work.
All right. Ooh. Okay. Works. All right, I am fully ready to hear.
Nicole, go ahead. Don't forget to vote if you are able to get it working.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Christy,
let me
did
share
you
my
see what
screen.
you did to Larry?
What?
Look what Larry has in his hands.
What is that? Popsicles. I didn't do that.
Sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
Summertime.
No, you're fine. Mine's still not. I'm still not getting to that admin page.
Okay, so you're really close. What's happening is you're getting to the admin page, but the admin page is like you're not logged in. So let's go figure out what's going on. Go to your backend first. Is logged in true rec.session. You're setting the user, you're doing the destroy. Scroll up even further. You have all of your core stuff in at the very top. Got all that in. Okay, so I think your back end, believe it or not, is, I think, right. So let's go to your front end. And anytime that we do a fetch, we need to include the credentials. So the front end knows to send the information through. So you've got credentials include there. Let's go to your admin. And aha, on line 9 for the login status, that's where you need to do a comma after the URL, after the template literal, and say credentials include. Inside the parenthesis. And then curly braces, and then credentials include. Save. Go log in. Aha, good work. See, even when I go on
Thank you.
speed demon mode, we've got at least 6 people who are already caught up. Okay, so I know we're supposed to leave at least 15 minutes at the end for capstones, but take a step back here. I'm not officially assigning homework, but the unofficial homework for tonight is to take a look at all of this code and figure out how you would apply it in your capstone if you're using a login. If you're not using it in your capstone, still try and trace through, whether that is putting numbers on every line so you understand it, whether that's taking a step back and just reading the steps that Ariel is writing out to make sure you understand them, whether that's going through line by line and figuring out, what the point of that line is. Whatever it is, authentication is a very hard concept, right? It is hard because we need to understand from the server side whether or not we're authenticated. So I'm going to give all of you guys just a breather on this code, and starting tomorrow during class, we will do a full run through of this before we write another line of code. So with fresh brains tomorrow, we're going to go through, we're going to make sure all of this is sinking in. We will also have the step-by-step instructions so you can reference what all the notes Ariel took tonight with all of the stuff of us going through it tomorrow. And if at any point you read something on those instructions and you go, Max just explained that and I still don't get it, you red flag me. You go, nope, go say that again. You are not going to get these concepts unless you stop me and say, no, I need a minute. Just let that sink in, because you may not even want to hear it again. You might just need a minute to process it. And that's where we will start tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are also going to add in our CRUD operations, our create, read, update, and delete, and get our post showing up on the homepage. If we are able to get that done, we may be able to make all day Thursday a capstone working session, or an open opportunity to ask any remaining questions on this project. But we've got a little bit more work to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to go through all of this code. We're going to go through Ariel's instructions. We're going to go through the code step by step. We're going to make sure we're understanding it. We're going to go nice and slow. And then we are going to move on from there. Get our CRUD operations working and go into Thursday with an opportunity to review any of that. How are we feeling in general? I know it's a lot, but you guys have made it. There are no new concepts coming. Everything is just, that's it. You've made it to the finish line. We're going to wrap up this project, and then it is just practice.
Feel like I understand, but I don't understand.
I know, right? I have a question about, you said next week you're gonna be there, right? Sunday and then next week?
Correct.
So,
Sunday through Thursday.
so if we want to come there next week, can we come before, like, can we come in and get set up and stuff so that by the time you come there?
The only thing I don't know is if someone has that room reserved at like 4:30 to 5, that's a possibility. But worst case scenario, you show up and there's someone already in the room and you just, wait it out.
Sit in that in the area.
Yeah, but I would kind of be surprised if anyone had that room booked from 5 to 5:30. So you could come in probably up to a half hour early, but I can't say that for sure.
Okay.
I will stick around for 4 minutes in case there are any questions. Otherwise, I get that you're probably sick of me and want to get out of here. So go do that.
Wayne, you're muted if you're talking.
Can I ask, help me with, just to figure out that folder thing so I could work on new stuff for my capstone tonight?
I love that we had it working and then you had like an hour and a half and broke it.
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead and share your screen. Let's take a look. Everyone else, you're welcome to get out of here if you would like.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
I close it? I think I will.